Monkeys, hello everyone. Welcome to this incredible journey through the evolution and early stages of life on Earth. Before we dive deep into the story, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video with friends and family, and comment below where you're watching from. Your support helps us bring more cinematic, high-quality documentary content to life. Long before humans walked the Earth, long before the first signs of civilizations or complex societies, the planet was dominated by creatures whose adaptability and intelligence would lay the foundation for the future of life itself. Among these were the ancestors of modern monkeys, creatures of remarkable dexterity, curiosity, and social complexity. These early primates were not merely inhabitants of the forests. They were pioneers of a behavioral and cognitive revolution, shaping ecosystems, interacting with their surroundings in unprecedented ways, and setting a precedent for future species that would eventually dominate the planet. The story of monkeys begins in dense, lush forests, where towering trees and tangled canopies created a labyrinth of life. Here, in this vertical world, early primates evolved to exploit new niches. Their prehensile hands and grasping feet allowed them to swing with precision from branch to branch, climbing and leaping with an agility that few other animals could match. Sharp vision and acute depth perception became essential for navigating the forest's layered environment, avoiding predators, and finding sustenance. Every movement was a blend of calculated intelligence and instinct, honed over millions of years of evolution. Monkeys were not solitary wanderers. They were social creatures. Early primate societies exhibited complex interactions, grooming behaviors that reinforced bonds, coordinated movements that enhanced safety, and vocalizations that communicated warnings or intentions. These social structures provided critical evolutionary advantages, allowing them to exploit resources efficiently, defend against predators, and learn from one another. Intelligence and social cohesion became intertwined, forming the bedrock for behaviors that would be echoed in their descendants, including human-like species that would emerge millions of years later. Their diet was diverse, reflecting both opportunity and necessity. Early monkeys foraged for fruits, seeds, nuts, and leaves, but they were also opportunistic omnivores, capable of exploiting insects and small vertebrates. This varied diet not only facilitated survival in changing environments, but also fostered intricate ecological relationships. By consuming fruits and dispersing seeds, they became inadvertent gardeners of the forests, spreading plant species across vast areas and influencing forest composition. Every bite, every movement, every interaction subtly shaped the ecological fabric of their world. Predation and environmental pressures were relentless. Leopards, snakes, birds of prey, and other predators forced monkeys to develop vigilance, agility, and sophisticated escape strategies. Alarm calls, coordinated flight, and arboreal maneuvering were all adaptations to a world in which survival required constant attentiveness. Yet, the pressure of predation also promoted creativity and intelligence. Problem-solving and obtaining food, negotiating social hierarchies, and navigating the ever-changing environment. This crucible of life forged cognitive abilities far beyond simple survival instincts, laying the groundwork for future primate evolution. As millions of years passed, early monkeys diversified into multiple lineages, spreading across continents and adapting to varied ecosystems. Some remained forest specialists, while others began exploring woodland edges, savannas, and riverine environments. Their morphology evolved accordingly: longer tails for balance, larger brain cases for enhanced cognition, and refined sensory systems to detect subtle changes in the environment. In each adaptation, the interplay between opportunity and necessity demonstrated nature's relentless drive toward complexity and efficiency. Through these developments, monkeys became central actors in their ecosystems. They influenced plant reproduction through seed dispersal, regulated insect populations through predation, and provided a dynamic prey base for predators, maintaining ecological balance. Their behaviors and social structures became more sophisticated with each generation, reflecting a delicate dance between genetics, environment, and learned experience. By the time human-like species began to emerge, the foundations of intelligence, social cooperation, and environmental awareness had already been established by these remarkable primates. Human-like species. As the epochs unfolded, the evolutionary trajectory of life on Earth began to take remarkable turns, setting the stage for the emergence of creatures whose intelligence, dexterity, and social sophistication would surpass all previous inhabitants of the planet. Among these, human-like species arose, beings that, while still rooted in primate ancestry, exhibited a unique combination of physical and cognitive traits that would eventually distinguish them as ancestors of modern humans. In the dense forests and open woodlands of prehistoric Earth, these hominin species developed a striking duality: the ability to navigate complex arboreal environments inherited from their monkey ancestors, coupled with the newfound capacity for bipedal locomotion. Walking upright on two legs allowed them to explore vast landscapes, survey potential threats, and transport resources over long distances. This adaptation freed their hands for intricate tasks, such as manipulating tools, gathering food, and crafting rudimentary shelters, fundamentally changing the way they interacted with their environment. Cognitive evolution accelerated during this period. Early human-like species demonstrated problem-solving skills, memory retention, and the ability to plan for future needs, traits far beyond simple survival instincts. Tool use became a defining characteristic, with stones, sticks, and eventually crafted implements enabling access to previously unreachable food sources, protection from predators, and innovative solutions to environmental challenges. This period marked the beginning of technological ingenuity, an evolutionary hallmark that would define the human lineage for millennia. Social structures among these early species were increasingly complex. Group cohesion, cooperation in hunting and foraging, communication through gestures, vocalizations, and eventually symbolic expression laid the foundations for culture. Knowledge began to be transferred across generations, creating early traditions and learned behaviors that enhanced survival and resilience. The formation of social bonds, alliances, and hierarchies was not only a response to ecological pressures, but also a catalyst for emotional depth and empathy, qualities that remain central to modern humans. Dietary adaptations reflected their versatility and capacity to exploit diverse ecosystems. They consumed fruits, seeds, tubers, small animals, and insects, demonstrating both omnivory and opportunism. Such dietary breadth allowed them to endure environmental fluctuations and expand their territories. Their interaction with plant species became more deliberate. By harvesting, transporting, and even planting seeds, they influenced vegetation patterns, shaping the ecological dynamics of their surroundings. This early manipulation of the environment would foreshadow the profound human impact on ecosystems that would follow millions of years later. Predation pressures and environmental challenges continued to shape their evolution. Survival required intelligence, adaptability, and cooperation. The ability to anticipate threats, collaborate in defense, and exploit resources strategically created selective pressures favoring heightened cognition, dexterity, and communication skills. Those species capable of navigating these challenges not only survived, but also laid the genetic and cultural groundwork for subsequent evolutionary advancements. The physical evolution of human-like species also reflected their changing lifestyles. Dental adaptations suited a varied diet. Limb proportions allowed both climbing and sustained walking, and cranial capacity gradually increased to accommodate advanced cognitive functions. Facial structures began to exhibit features that facilitated expressive communication, a critical step toward the development of language and social interaction. Their bodies became versatile instruments for survival, reflection of an intricate interplay between environmental demands, dietary needs, and social complexity. By inhabiting diverse ecological niches, these species spread across continents, experimenting with new behaviors and survival strategies. They built temporary shelters, utilized fire in its nascent forms, and developed rudimentary clothing and protective measures. Cultural behaviors emerged, tool-making techniques passed across generations, hunting strategies refined, and social learning became embedded within the community structure. Each advancement created a feedback loop, promoting intelligence, social cohesion, and environmental mastery. The rise of human-like species represents a profound evolutionary chapter, a bridge between primate ancestry and the eventual emergence of anatomically modern humans. Their story illustrates the intricate balance between adaptation, cognition, and social behavior, highlighting how environmental pressures, physical innovations, and learned culture collectively shaped a lineage capable of extraordinary achievements. In the forests, grasslands, and river valleys of prehistoric Earth, the stage was set for humanity, yet the journey was far from complete. Preparation of Earth for humans. As human-like species spread across continents, the Earth itself underwent profound transformations, setting the stage for the eventual rise of modern humans. The planet's geological, climatic, and ecological systems gradually created conditions that were increasingly favorable for intelligent life. Rivers carved valleys, volcanic activity enriched soils, and shifting climates produced diverse habitats. Forests, grasslands, wetlands, each offering unique resources for sustenance, shelter, and social development. This was the subtle preparation of Earth, a deliberate orchestration by nature over millions of years, shaping a world ready to host creatures capable of reflection, innovation, and culture. Forests, which had long been refuges for primates and human-like species, expanded and diversified. Towering trees offered shelter, food, and vantage points, while smaller plants provided ground cover and nutrition. The proliferation of fruiting plants, nuts, and tubers created a reliable food supply, allowing early hominins to establish semi-permanent foraging routes. The interactions between flora and fauna intensified. Animals dispersed seeds, insects pollinated flowers, and the very soil itself became enriched with organic matter, creating a fertile foundation for life. Earth was becoming a living mosaic of interdependent systems, meticulously tuned to support complex organisms. Climatic variations played a crucial role in this preparation. Ice ages and warm interglacial periods alternated, prompting species to adapt to shifting temperatures, rainfall patterns, and vegetation zones. These changes honed resilience, versatility, and adaptability among early hominins. Seasonal abundance and scarcity dictated migration patterns, hunting strategies, and food storage techniques, reinforcing intelligence, memory, and social coordination. Life on Earth was no longer merely reactive. It was a dynamic interplay of strategy, adaptation, and anticipation. Water sources, rivers, lakes, and freshwater springs became lifelines, guiding settlement patterns and sustaining both flora and fauna. The constant availability of water, combined with fertile land and abundant vegetation, created ecological niches where human-like species could experiment with early agriculture, tool usage, and cooperative behaviors. The interaction between land, water, and life formed a delicate balance. Predators controlled herbivore populations, herbivores shaped plant communities, and humans began subtly influencing both, initiating a feedback loop that would eventually define human civilization. Geological changes further facilitated preparation. Continental drift reshaped coastlines, created mountain ranges, and produced new habitats. Volcanoes, while destructive in the short term, enriched soils with minerals, creating fertile grounds for plant growth. Earthquakes and tectonic movements restructured landscapes, forming rivers, lakes, and valleys that provided diverse ecosystems. Every geological shift became an opportunity for adaptation, survival, and innovation, teaching early humans to read the signals of their planet and respond with foresight. The preparation of Earth also included the subtle calibration of atmospheric conditions. The composition of oxygen, carbon dioxide, and other gases stabilized to levels conducive to aerobic life, enabling sustained activity, cognitive development, and energy-intensive behaviors. Natural light cycles, temperature gradients, and seasonal rhythms provided cues for biological and social organization, influencing sleep patterns, hunting cycles, and reproductive behaviors. The planet itself became a teacher, guiding the evolution of creatures capable of understanding, manipulating, and eventually reshaping it. In this context, early human societies began to establish patterns of life that reflected both instinct and intelligence. Tool-making advanced, fire use became more consistent, and communication systems, from gestures to vocalizations, grew in complexity. Social hierarchies, cooperative hunting strategies, and shared learning strengthened bonds within groups, ensuring survival and knowledge transfer. Earth was no longer a passive stage. It was an interactive environment where human-like species learned, experimented, and thrived, gradually mastering the ecological and physical challenges around them. By the time anatomically modern humans would emerge, the planet had undergone a vast preparation, sculpted over millions of years. Fertile soils, abundant water, diverse food sources, and ecological balance created an environment in which humans could not only survive, but also innovate, communicate, and build societies. Every river, forest, and plain contributed to this grand preparation, forming a world that would eventually become the cradle of human civilization. The Earth was ready, and life had been meticulously orchestrated to meet the moment when intelligence and curiosity would converge to shape the future. Religious creation theory, throughout history, as human-like species evolved into early civilizations, the quest to understand existence and the origins of life became a central theme of culture and philosophy. Across the world, diverse societies developed religious creation theories, narratives that explained how the universe, Earth, life, and humanity itself came into being. These stories, passed through oral traditions, sacred texts, and ritual practices, reflected humanity's profound curiosity, spiritual insight, and desire for meaning in an unpredictable world. Religious creation theories provided more than explanations. They structured social life, ethics, and understanding of the natural world. In Mesopotamia, Egypt, India, and other ancient civilizations, humans interpreted the cosmos as a carefully ordered system, often orchestrated by gods or cosmic forces. Deities were imagined to create light and darkness, land and water, animals and humans, weaving moral, spiritual, and ecological lessons into the narrative of creation. These myths and teachings became a framework through which early humans understood life cycles, seasonal patterns, and the balance between human action and natural order. Across cultures, creation narratives often portrayed a transition from chaos to order. Cosmic waters, voids, or primal darkness preceded the formation of Earth's landscapes. Mountains, rivers, and forests were crafted by divine hands. Animals and humans were placed in harmony with one another, sometimes with distinct roles and responsibilities. These stories reflected keen observation of the environment. Humans noticed fertility cycles, predation, seasonal changes, and social hierarchies within animal communities. By embedding ecological awareness into religious frameworks, early societies created symbolic systems that communicated both reverence and understanding of life's interconnectedness. In many traditions, humans were granted a unique status. They were depicted as caretakers, stewards, or participants in a grand cosmic plan. This recognition of human agency encouraged the development of tools, agriculture, and cooperative strategies, mirroring the underlying themes of responsibility and adaptation present in the natural world. Humans interpreted the environment not merely as a resource, but as a living system imbued with spiritual significance. a perspective that shaped early cultural evolution alongside biological evolution. Rituals, ceremonies, and sacred observances reinforced these creation theories. Early humans celebrated solstices, equinoxes, and lunar cycles, marking the passage of time and recognizing the forces that governed life. Festivals often included symbolic enactments of creation, mimicking natural phenomena, and reenacting the origin of life through storytelling, dance, or art. Such practices strengthened communal identity, transmitted knowledge across generations, and instilled respect for ecological patterns. The intertwining of spirituality and observation became a cornerstone of human understanding of existence. Despite the spiritual focus, many religious creation theories contain strikingly accurate reflections of the natural world. Observations of animal behaviors, plant cycles, weather patterns, and celestial movements were encoded symbolically. These narratives offered practical knowledge disguised as myth. For example, seasonal rhythms informed agricultural practices, predator-prey observations guided hunting ethics, and ecological awareness was embedded within moral teachings. In this way, human spirituality and environmental adaptation were not separate. They co-evolved, producing both cultural sophistication and survival strategies. Religious creation theories also offered a sense of continuity, connecting generations to the origins of life and instilling a shared vision of existence. By framing humans as part of a larger story, these narratives encouraged reflection on mortality, purpose, and the broader patterns of life. Humans learned to observe, interpret, and interact with their surroundings in a context that balanced reverence with pragmatic understanding, fostering both psychological resilience and ecological intelligence. In summary, religious creation theories were not merely imaginative exercises. They were early frameworks for understanding life, the earth, and humanity's place within it. They merged observation, philosophy, and spirituality, guiding early humans in navigating an intricate and often unpredictable world. While evolution and science would later provide empirical explanations, these narratives laid the foundation for humanity as ongoing quest to comprehend existence, a journey intertwined with curiosity, morality, and awe at the mysteries of life. First forest. The Earth, once a planet dominated by barren landscapes and scattered vegetation, began to transform as plants evolved increasingly complex structures. From mosses and simple ferns to the towering lycophytes and ancient tree-like plants, life on land was gradually conquering new heights. The emergence of the first forests marked a pivotal turning point in Earth's ecological history, the creation of vast, layered ecosystems that provided shelter, resources, and niches for countless species, including human-like ancestors. These first forests were unlike anything the planet had previously seen. Gigantic tree ferns and primitive conifers reached towards the sky, creating a dense canopy that filtered sunlight and moderated the climate beneath. Beneath these towering giants, shrubs, mosses, and early flowering plants flourished, forming a multi-tiered ecosystem. This structural complexity allowed life to diversify, creating opportunities for insects, early reptiles, and small mammals to inhabit distinct ecological layers. Each layer supported life in unique ways, producing intricate food webs and fostering evolutionary experimentation. Forests became arenas of survival and innovation. For early human-like species, the dense canopies offered shelter and protection from predators while providing abundant food sources. Fruits, nuts, and seeds from trees were not only sustenance but also tools for shaping ecological interactions, as dispersal and consumption influenced plant propagation. These forests acted as both providers and classrooms, where creatures learned to navigate complex terrains, develop problem-solving skills, and observe the interdependence of life. The interplay of light and shadow within these forests had profound ecological consequences. Sunlight filtering through the canopy created patches of warmth, supporting photosynthesis for understory plants and influencing microclimates. Temperature and humidity variations within the forest encouraged adaptations in behavior, physiology, and morphology among its inhabitants. Arboreal species, including early primates, honed climbing and leaping skills, while ground-dwelling animals evolved stealth, speed, and camouflage to thrive beneath the dense vegetation. Forests were living laboratories, shaping intelligence, agility, and survival strategies over countless generations. Predator-prey dynamics within these first forests were highly sophisticated. Carnivorous reptiles, early mammals, and hunting birds coexisted with herbivorous species, creating complex interactions that tested ingenuity and cooperation. For human-like species, understanding these dynamics was crucial. Survival depended not only on physical prowess, but also on observation, learning, and strategic planning. Social learning within groups became increasingly essential, as knowledge about food sources, safe pathways, and predator behavior was shared among individuals, reinforcing communal bonds and cognitive development. Moreover, forests facilitated the development of sensory and cognitive skills. The cacophony of sounds, from bird calls to insect chirps, rustling leaves, and predator alerts, trained auditory perception and communication. Aromas of plants and prey guided foraging behavior, while visual cues from light patterns, movement, and color informed decision-making. These environments, rich in stimuli, acted as crucibles for intelligence, shaping the neurological and behavioral traits that would later define humanity. Forests also became centers of ecological engineering. Early creatures contributed to soil enrichment through decomposition and nutrient cycling, while the actions of animals, from seed dispersal to selective feeding, influenced plant distribution and forest structure. The coevolution of plants and animals produced symbiotic relationships that enhanced resilience and adaptability. Each species, consciously or not, played a role in the forest's development, making these early ecosystems vibrant, dynamic, and self-sustaining. The first forests thus represented more than mere vegetation. They were transformative spaces where life experimented, adapted, and evolved. They provided the stage for the emergence of complex behaviors, intelligence, and social cooperation among early species. For humans and their ancestors, these forests were both sanctuary and classroom, shaping the skills, knowledge, and instincts that would be essential for survival and eventual mastery of Earth's landscapes. The intricate beauty, layered complexity, and interwoven life of these ancient forests set the foundation for every evolutionary advance that followed. First food, as life in the first forests and evolving landscapes flourished, the quest for sustenance became the driving force behind survival, adaptation, and cognitive development. The discovery of food was not merely an act of consumption. It represented a profound interaction with the environment, laying the foundation for learning, experimentation, and intelligence. Early human-like species, as well as other animals, learned to identify, gather, and process a diverse array of nutritional resources, marking a transformative stage in evolution. The first sources of food were abundant, yet required keen observation and innovation to exploit effectively. Fruits ripened on trees, tubers and roots grew hidden beneath the soil, and leaves, seeds, and nuts offered vital energy. Insects and small animals provided protein for those capable of capturing them. Each food source required different skills: climbing, digging, foraging, hunting, and sometimes cooperation, forcing creatures to refine their physical and mental capabilities. The relationship between predator and prey, gatherer and plant, evolved into intricate ecological dynamics, where food became both survival tool and catalyst for cognitive growth. Observation and experimentation were crucial in the utilization of food. Early species discovered patterns: which fruits were edible, which plants were toxic, and which insects or animals provided essential nutrients. Trial and error guided dietary choices, while social learning allowed knowledge to be shared among groups. Young individuals observed elders, mimicked behaviors, and internalized critical survival skills. This process not only enhanced survival, but fostered memory, reasoning, and problem-solving, early cognitive abilities that would become fundamental in human evolution. The nutritional diversity of early food sources played a central role in development. Carbohydrates from fruits and tubers fueled energy-intensive activities. Proteins from insects and small animals supported growth and repair, and fats from seeds and nuts provided concentrated calories. The balanced consumption of these resources encouraged physical growth, neurological development, and endurance. Groups that mastered these dietary patterns thrived, while others faltered in times of scarcity, illustrating the profound link between food, evolution, and the survival of intelligent species. For human-like species, the act of obtaining food gradually became intertwined with social structures. Foraging expeditions required planning, cooperation, and communication. Groups organized themselves to cover larger areas efficiently, share discoveries, and protect vulnerable members. Tool use became increasingly sophisticated. Sticks for digging roots, stones for cracking nuts, and rudimentary implements for hunting. These innovations reflected a deepening understanding of cause and effect, problem-solving, and manipulation of the environment, behaviors that would define human ingenuity. Food also became a conduit for culture and symbolic thought. Sharing meals reinforced social bonds, communicated status, and established norms within groups. Rituals around hunting or gathering likely emerged, incorporating respect for life, gratitude, and collective memory. The selection and preparation of food demanded foresight, creativity, and planning, cognitive traits that would echo through millennia of human history. Taste, texture, and preference influenced choices, while observation of plants, animals, and seasonal patterns guided dietary adaptation, producing a sophisticated interplay between biology, environment, and social life. Environmental pressures continued to shape dietary strategies. Scarcity during droughts, seasonal fluctuations, and competition from predators necessitated flexibility and innovation. Groups adapted by storing excess food, experimenting with combinations of edibles, and developing early methods of preservation. These strategies not only increased survival chances, but strengthened memory, decision-making, and strategic thinking. Food, therefore, was not just nutrition. It was education, strategy, and culture, the catalyst for intelligence and social cohesion. In conclusion, the discovery and utilization of the first food sources represented a milestone in Earth's evolutionary story. It was a period where survival intertwined with learning, innovation, and social cooperation. By understanding, obtaining, and sharing food, early species laid the groundwork for intelligence, cultural transmission, and environmental mastery. Every bite, every gathering, and every shared meal contributed to the unfolding journey of life, setting the stage for the next chapters. The first tastes, the emergence of flavors, and the sensory awakening that would deepen humanity's relationship with the world. First taste, the discovery of taste, marked a revolutionary moment in the evolutionary journey of life on Earth, particularly for human-like species. Beyond mere sustenance, taste became a powerful sensory tool, guiding choices, shaping preferences, and influencing behavior. It provided crucial information about nutritional value, safety, and potential harm, allowing early species to navigate their environments with greater intelligence and discernment. Taste was the bridge between survival instincts and cultural sophistication, fostering experimentation, learning, and the emergence of dietary traditions. Early encounters with taste were driven by necessity. Sweet fruits signaled energy-rich calories, bitter plants warned of toxins, and sour flavors indicated ripeness or spoilage. These sensory cues were essential for survival, as individuals who correctly interpreted flavors were more likely to thrive. Over time, taste perception evolved into a sophisticated system, integrating sensory input with memory, social learning, and environmental observation. A single bite could convey information about seasonality, ecological patterns, and the suitability of a food source, turning eating into an act of intelligence and decision-making. The social dimension of taste further amplified its significance. Sharing food introduced communal evaluation of flavors, allowing groups to collectively identify safe and desirable sources. This collaborative assessment enhanced learning, strengthened social bonds, and fostered communication. Young members learned not only what to eat, but how to recognize quality, develop preferences, and respond appropriately to environmental cues. Taste became a conduit for education, shaping both individual and group behavior in profound ways. Exploration of flavor also encouraged experimentation and innovation. Human-like species began combining foods, testing textures, and observing effects on the body. These trials provided critical feedback that informed future choices, laying the groundwork for culinary practices and nutritional understanding. Taste guided dietary diversity, ensuring balanced intake of carbohydrates, proteins, fats, and micronutrients, while also inspiring curiosity and creative approaches to food acquisition and preparation. The evolution of taste perception was closely tied to neurological development. Sensory input from the tongue and olfactory system stimulated brain regions responsible for memory, reward, and learning. The pleasure associated with desirable flavors reinforced adaptive behaviors, while aversive reactions to harmful tastes prevented dangerous consumption. This dynamic system fostered intelligence, risk assessment, and strategic thinking, integrating sensory experience with cognitive growth. Taste also influenced the trajectory of cultural evolution. Preference for specific flavors encouraged selective foraging, cultivation of particular plants, and eventual domestication of edible species. Early experimentation with fire, grinding, and preparation enhanced flavors, improved digestibility, and expanded dietary possibilities. These practices were not merely nutritional. They represented early steps toward culinary arts, ritualistic consumption, and the formation of cultural identity. Flavor became a medium through which humans expressed ingenuity, creativity, and connection to their environment. In ecological terms, taste shaped interactions between species and their habitats. By favoring certain fruits, seeds, or leaves, early species influenced plant propagation, shaping the composition of forests and open landscapes. Sensory-guided foraging affected pollination patterns, seed dispersal, and competitive relationships, creating feedback loops that reinforced the co-evolution of plants and animals. Taste was thus a pivotal factor in the broader ecological dynamics of early Earth, influencing survival, adaptation, and biodiversity. Ultimately, the discovery of the first tastes represented more than the enjoyment of flavor. It was a milestone in evolutionary history, integrating biology, cognition, social learning, and ecology. Taste transformed eating from a mere necessity into a complex interaction with the environment, fostering intelligence, cultural behaviors, and ecological awareness. Every experience of flavor deepened the connection between human-like species and their world, shaping preferences, habits, and innovations that would echo through millennia of evolutionary and cultural development. First light. Long before humans comprehended the cosmos or harnessed fire, light emerged as a fundamental force shaping life on Earth. The first light, whether from the sun piercing primordial clouds or early bioluminescent organisms in the deep oceans and forests, became a critical factor influencing biological rhythms, ecological interactions, and perceptual evolution. Light was not merely illumination. It was information, energy, and life itself, guiding behavior, growth, and the very architecture of early ecosystems. The sun's rays penetrated the dense canopies of prehistoric forests, illuminating patches of ground and fostering photosynthesis in plants. This process allowed vegetation to flourish, producing oxygen, food, and shelter for countless species. The interplay of sunlight with the environment created shadows, textures, and color gradients, enhancing spatial awareness and visual acuity among animals and early human-like species. Predators tracked movements with greater precision, while prey evolved camouflage and vigilance, forging an evolutionary arms race intimately tied to the presence of light. Bioluminescence offered another dimension of illumination, particularly in dark caves, dense forests, and ocean depths. Early creatures used light for communication, hunting, and mating signals, while others developed adaptations to detect faint glimmers. These early interactions with light fostered neurological development, heightened perception, and advanced sensory integration. The ability to interpret light patterns became a survival skill, influencing navigation, foraging, and social coordination. The first experiences of day and night established biological rhythms essential for life. Circadian cycles governed sleep, activity, reproduction, and feeding, synchronizing life with the natural environment. For human-like species, the rising and setting of the sun structured behavior, hunting schedules, and group interactions. Awareness of temporal patterns also encouraged planning, prediction, and cooperative strategies, enhancing survival and fostering cognitive sophistication. Light, in this sense, became both a physical and temporal guide, shaping life's rhythms with precision and reliability. Light also played a crucial role in the development of color perception. Observing the variation in plant hues, animal markings, and environmental cues enabled early species to make critical distinctions: ripe versus unripe fruits, poisonous versus edible plants, predator versus prey. These visual discriminations enhanced decision-making, risk assessment, and environmental mastery. Over generations, enhanced color perception reinforced evolutionary success, demonstrating the profound impact of light on sensory development. For human-like species, fire became the first controllable source of light, extending their interaction with the environment beyond natural cycles. Fire illuminated caves, created warmth, and offered protection against predators. It enabled nighttime activity, social gatherings, and the emergence of storytelling, rituals, and symbolic expression. The mastery of light through fire marked a cognitive and cultural leap, intertwining survival, creativity, and social cohesion. Light, once a passive environmental feature, became an active tool in the hands of intelligent species. Light also influenced ecological interactions on a broader scale. Photosynthetic organisms depended on it for energy, herbivores depended on plants for sustenance, and predators tracked herbivore activity in illuminated spaces. The daily movement of sunlight across the planet dictated microclimates, foraging patterns, and reproductive cycles. Life evolved to anticipate and exploit light, creating intricate networks of dependency that bound ecosystems together. In this way, light became both a driver and a regulator of evolutionary and ecological processes. In conclusion, the first light was a transformative force. It guided perception, cognition, survival strategies, and social development, while shaping the very structure of ecosystems. For human-like species, light provided information, energy, and inspiration, laying the foundation for visual awareness, circadian regulation, and cultural innovations. Every dawn and flicker illuminated the path for life's complexity, offering clarity, opportunity, and the possibility of mastery over the environment. Light, in its first manifestations, was not merely a phenomenon. It was life's guiding beacon, illuminating the journey from instinct to intellect, from observation to understanding, and from survival to civilization. First sound emerged as a transformative element in the history of life, an invisible force that conveyed information, signaled danger, and fostered connection among early species. Long before humans could speak or compose music, the first sounds shaped ecological interactions, social cohesion, and cognitive evolution. From the rustle of leaves to the calls of predators and the vocalizations of early primates, sound became both a medium and a message, guiding survival and social behavior across landscapes. In the dense forests and open plains, auditory cues were essential for detecting prey, avoiding predators, and navigating complex terrains. The crack of a twig, the distant roar of a carnivore, or the buzz of insects provided critical information about the surrounding environment. Early human-like species learned to interpret these signals, responding with caution, strategy, and communication. The evolution of hearing, coupled with neural development, allowed organisms to distinguish patterns, anticipate threats, and coordinate group actions, skills that became fundamental for survival. Vocalizations among early primates and human-like species evolved as a form of social communication. Calls, cries, and gestures conveyed warnings, coordinated group movements, or attracted attention to resources. Sound reinforced social hierarchies, nurtured bonds, and facilitated cooperation. Individuals who could produce nuanced signals or interpret the vocalizations of others had advantages in hunting, foraging, and protection. Sound became a cognitive tool, shaping memory, learning, and problem-solving, while fostering empathy and shared understanding within groups. Beyond survival, sound carried ecological consequences. Birds, insects, and mammals used calls to establish territories, attract mates, and coordinate reproductive behaviors. Each vocalization influenced population dynamics, spatial organization, and the structure of ecosystems. Early humans and their ancestors observed these patterns, learning the rhythms and meanings of the natural soundscape, integrating auditory cues into decision-making, and developing strategies that enhanced both survival and social cohesion. The interplay of sound and environment also influenced cultural and creative expression. The ability to mimic, experiment, and generate variations in sounds laid the foundation for music, language, and ritual. Storytelling through auditory means, whether through song, chant, or rhythm, reinforced communal identity, transmitted knowledge, and preserved collective memory. The first sounds became both functional and symbolic, linking cognition, emotion, and social structure in unprecedented ways. Moreover, the acoustic environment shaped neurological and sensory development. Auditory stimuli enhanced attention, pattern recognition, and predictive capacity. Recognizing repeated calls or environmental noises required memory, processing, and interpretation, promoting cognitive complexity. Early species learned to anticipate the actions of others, understand cause and effect, and engage in collaborative strategies, all through the medium of sound. As human-like species evolved, the mastery of sound expanded. Simple calls developed into complex vocal sequences, gestures synchronized with vocalizations, and group coordination became increasingly sophisticated. Sound was no longer merely reactive. It became proactive, allowing early humans to influence their surroundings, negotiate alliances, and manipulate ecological and social environments to their advantage. The evolution of hearing and vocalization thus paralleled the growth of intelligence, culture, and civilization itself. In conclusion, the emergence of the first sound represented a pivotal evolutionary leap. It connected organisms to their environment, fostered communication, guided survival, and laid the foundations for culture and cognition. Sound, in its earliest forms, was both a lifeline and a bridge, linking individuals to each other, to the broader ecosystem, and to the evolving tapestry of life. Each vibration, call, and echo deepened the interaction between perception and understanding, setting the stage for the final frontier of sensory experience, the perception of fragrance, the subtle signature of life itself. First fragrance. The emergence of the first fragrance marked the final frontier in the sensory evolution of life on Earth. From the subtle aroma of blooming plants to the complex scents emitted by predators, prey, and decaying matter, fragrance became an invisible language, conveying crucial information about the environment, guiding behavior, and influencing survival strategies. For early human-like species, scent was more than perception. It was a guide, a warning and an inspiration, intricately linked to cognition, memory, and culture. Plants were the earliest masters of fragrance. Flowers evolved to attract pollinators. Fruits ripened with enticing aromas, and resinous trees emitted scents that deterred herbivores or marked territory. Early species learned to interpret these signals. A sweet scent indicated nutrition, a pungent odor suggested danger, and subtle changes hinted at seasonal cycles or environmental shifts. Sensory acuity in detecting fragrances enhanced survival, enabling creatures to find food, avoid toxins, and navigate the complex mosaic of ecosystems. Fragrance also mediated social and reproductive interactions. Pheromones and scent markings communicated readiness for mating, territorial boundaries, and individual identity. Human-like species, along with other mammals, developed heightened olfactory sensitivity, integrating scent into social awareness and group cohesion. Recognition of kin, detection of rivals, and identification of mates were all facilitated by this invisible yet powerful medium, reinforcing social structure and evolutionary success. The role of fragrance extended to cultural and cognitive domains. Observation of plant aromas, experimentation with edible scents, and the association of smell with memory laid the foundation for symbolic thinking. Certain scents evoked safety, pleasure, or warning, encoding knowledge that was passed through generations. Fire and cooking enhanced the complexity of fragrances, creating new dimensions of taste, nutrition, and social experience. Scent became intertwined with ritual, storytelling, and expression, enriching the human sensory world beyond mere survival. Ecologically, fragrances orchestrated interactions across species. Pollinators such as insects and birds were drawn to specific floral scents, facilitating reproduction and biodiversity. Predators tracked prey by smell, while prey evolved chemical defenses and odor-masking strategies. These interactions formed intricate networks in which scent guided movement, behavior, and evolutionary adaptation. The first fragrances, therefore, were catalysts of coevolution, shaping not only perception, but also the structure of ecosystems themselves. Neurologically, fragrance engaged memory, emotion, and decision-making in ways unique to other senses. A single odor could evoke long-term recollections, influence preference, or trigger caution. This sensory integration enriched cognitive capacity, allowing early humans to link experience with environment, plan effectively, and innovate. Smell, in combination with sight, sound, and taste, created a multi-dimensional understanding of the world, a holistic perception that informed survival, learning, and cultural expression. By the time early humans fully dominated the land, the mastery of fragrance complemented the mastery of light, sound, and taste. Scent-guided foraging warned of danger, reinforced social bonds, and inspired creativity. From the first whiff of a ripening fruit to the complex aromas of fire-cooked meals, fragrance became a bridge between nature and intellect, instinct and culture. The evolution of smell completed the sensory toolkit, enabling humans to interact with their environment in profoundly nuanced ways. In conclusion, the first fragrance represented the culmination of Earth's preparation for complex life. It enhanced survival, informed decision-making, reinforced social structures, and enriched cultural expression. Together with light, sound, taste, and other senses, fragrance allowed human-like species to perceive, interpret, and shape their environment, setting the stage for civilization. The emergence of fragrance was not merely a sensory milestone. It was a testament to the intricate orchestration of evolution, a final thread in the tapestry of life that would lead to intelligence, culture, and the human experience as we know it today.